Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Whistle Talk. Mike D, the referee, coming at you here from a cold day here in New Jersey. Here we are on another January day. Getting ready to have another fantastic guest coming on to join us today. But before we start with our guests, reminder, for those of you sitting in that nice heated seats of your car, for those sitting at home, maybe listening or watching this on the computer, hit those like buttons, hit those subscribe buttons. Be sure to share out the information. Let's get this officiating world bigger and stronger as we know we can. Let's keep these games going for all these young athletes that are out there. And let's just have some fun. Today, I got a fantastic guest with me today. Today, I have Bill Topp. Bill is coming to us from the NASO, and I said it correctly again there, from the NASO and also from the Referee magazine. So, Bill, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to join me today. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, Mike. Doing well. A little bit cold here in Wisconsin, but we're hanging in there.
Yeah. We were just talking pre-production. You got us beat there by. We're sitting at 26 right here in Jersey, so you're in the single digits, and the feels like temperature I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, we're used to it here, but it's a little cold today. It's about 3 degrees with about a negative 30 wind chill, but we're looking forward to the balmy 20s later on this week, so we'll be in good shape.
There you go. Yeah, like you said, you'll be running around in short sleeves and shorts.
You got that
Uh,
right. Baseball season just around the corner.
Pitchers and catchers, they're getting ready. Yep. So, Bill, I really do appreciate you taking the time, and it's an honor for me to have you on my show here. If you don't mind, kind of introducing yourself and giving the listeners out there who might not know who Bill is, and if you're part of the NASO, you've probably seen his name here or there through the NASO. But if you don't mind introducing yourself and what your role is that you play with the NASO.
Sure, Mike. I'd be glad to. Thank you for the opportunity. I started here in 1990 as an intern, full-time in 1991, and I've been here ever since. So I started officiating when I was in college. I was playing baseball at a local university here, interned here, started with baseball umpiring, quickly added basketball officiating, and then added football officiating soon thereafter. So I was a three-sport official, almost exclusively at the high school and small college level,
Okay.
currently doing just high school football. So with the magazine and with the association, been doing it for more than 3 decades, mostly on the magazine side, and then gravitating more toward the NASO side as my career advanced here. And about a year and a half ago, was fortunate enough to succeed Barry Mano as president of the National Association of Sports Officials. Barry, the founder of NASO and the publisher of Referee, who is still working here in Racine,
Okay.
Wisconsin, where our headquarters are. Every day comes into the office. But there was a transition there on the NASO presidency, and I've been honored to be a part of that now for the last year and a half, but been working with the NASO board and with NASO my entire career.
Oh, that's great stuff. That's fantastic stuff. And like I said, for all the other NASO members out there, and I'll hold up. I just got in the mail recently my membership card here, and you'll see that signature there. So Bill, you're out in Wisconsin, but I got your autograph right there on my newsletter here and my membership benefit guidebook. So thank you once again for taking the time out today and joining us.
Thank you for being a member, Mike. We greatly appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Wouldn't think anything of it. So now, Bill, one of the main reasons that I reached out to you, and again, what we're trying to do with this show is we're trying to grow officiating across the boards. Now, I focus primarily on football, um, but you with the National Association, you're across all different aspects of sport. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, we represent every sport that you can imagine. I think our last membership count showed us with 37 different sports in our membership rolls. We have 32,000 NASO members in the United States and around the world, but they come from literally every sport you could possibly imagine. We've got obviously the mainstream sports that we focus on, but we've also had success with other sports. Most recently, we've signed up group memberships for USA pickleball officials,
Oh, nice.
U.S. tennis officials, and we have everything you can imagine. We have rodeo officials in our membership. So it's really interesting. What that says to us is that we're all dealing with the same things, and they're all under one umbrella under NASO, trying to solve those challenges. So we really are we like to say, the melting pot of sports officials here at NASO. All sports, all levels, all the time, and our membership reflects that.
So, what would then the primary purpose? And I know the answer to it. So, just for the people out there that aren't members, what would be the primary purpose for officials to want to get involved with the NASO?
NASO from day one has been an advocacy group and a protection group. Um, we have 24 staff members here in Racine, and that is all we do is support sports officials. So we have all the education that people need with the magazine, books, newsletters, digital products, websites, all kinds of things like that that we're known for. But in addition to that, it's advocacy. It's fighting on behalf of sports officials through legislation, through survey efforts, through all kinds of ways to have voice, things like this, working with the media, trying to get the word out about sports officiating. That's what we do every day, and that's what we've been doing for more than 4 decades.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great stuff. Now, a lot of people tend to just people that I've spoken to tend to just associate the NASO with insurance.
Mhm.
Um, but you guys are broader than that, obviously, incorporating the magazine and different things like that. But if you don't mind, can you touch on the insurance aspect that the NASO offers to officials?
Yeah, insurance is, we're very well known for that. We're at the forefront of providing liability insurance for officials 4 decades ago. Of course, many organizations have that now, and that's a good thing for sports
Hmm.
officials. So, what we like to talk about our insurance is that we have gap coverage. Gap coverage meaning things that are only designed for sports officials that your regular insurance may not have. The most important thing is that it's literally every sport and every level. Basically, anything other than a pickup game. We get the question all the time, well, there's a scrimmage going on. Are we covered? Yes. Or the team wants to play a fall ball game, but it's not really an official game. Yes, it's considered a scrimmage. So those types of things are important to know, that whether you're out there working a grade school tournament somewhere or everywhere up the ladder, we have professional referees who are part of our organization that covers them as well. So anything other than just some random pickup game where you get out of your car and decide to go blow a whistle up the street somewhere that's not organized in any fashion, other than that, you're covered. But the gap insurance is important. We have things like game call coverage. Believe it or not, in today's world, we're getting more and more cases of people wanting to sue sports officials over the decisions that they make.
Yeah.
It's not just about liability where somebody got hurt, but with NIL and other things going on, it's getting a little crazy out there. So we've got insurance that protects you for the decisions that you make. We've also got assault protection insurance, very unique coverage here. That if you happen to be in a situation where you've been assaulted, NASO's got your back. Where not only are we going to pay for some of your medical expenses if something bad happened to you, but we also go on offense with attorneys, and we can help pay for attorney costs to go after the perpetrator. Now it's interesting, Mike. Those things aren't positive, so it's
No.
hard to market NASO and say, "Hey, come be a referee, and if you get beat up, we'll cover you." But the reality is, we're behind the scenes doing those kinds of things too, because you got to have it in today's world with all the things that you can be sued for. We have a very robust package that covers you for just about everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm a high school educator, and I talk to my students in driver's ed. I'm like, listen, if somebody wants to sue you for something, they can basically sue you for anything. Bill, I'm going to sue you because you're wearing a blue sweater right now. If I wanted to try to sue you, I have that right to do that. Now, judge will probably throw that one right out, and I'll be wasting my money in doing all that stuff. But people are trying to sue people for the most random thing, and now when you're talking about it. NIL deals, it's not just college anymore, it's high school. So a call that we're making some parent or some athlete could say, "Oh, you're doing that because of X, Y, or Z, and now you've just taken money out of my pocket. I'm going to sue you." And that's not our intention whatsoever. We're there to try to officiate a sporting event. So it's
Well,
crazy, but you're right.
you bring up a really important point, Mike, because NASO not only covers those things, but we cover your defense costs. So most officials that don't have that kind of coverage, if they are sued, even though it's frivolous, they're going to have to pay to defend themselves.
Yep.
They're going to have to get an attorney and go to court, and that's out of your own pocket. Well, we have defense costs built right into our insurance program, so you won't be out anything if something like that happens to you.
Yeah, and it's a great thing to have, and it's unfortunate, but it is a fact of life. Not only just in the officiating world, but it's something that, well, we do see possibly more often than other areas or other walks of life. But I know in the education world, students have threatened to sue teachers over grades. So it's not beyond the realm of thinking. So, and it's something that as we get into officiating and as the newer officiator, uh, younger officials, I should say, are getting into it, it's something that they typically don't think of. They know that, yeah, we're going to have some angry parents at us, as 50% of the population at a game is not going to like us or the outcome of the game. But to the extreme level that some people are taking it is a scary time frame of society in essence.
Yeah, and insurance is like all insurance, right? You don't know what you have until you need it,
Yeah.
and you start digging into it. And the worst case scenario is when you think you have insurance because you registered with XYZ, and then you come to find out, well, it doesn't quite cover that situation, or it doesn't
Hmm.
quite cover that level. That's why, even though virtually all of our members have insurance elsewhere too, because they've registered with the state high school association or some other governing body, nothing wrong with that. We just have more robust things and more gap coverages that'll cover you for more things. So make sure you understand that. It's not a fun thing to understand, but it's kind of like your homeowner's insurance or your auto insurance or anything else. If you don't really
Yep.
know what you got, you're only going to find out possibly when it's too late. So protect yourself in that way. It is important. It is a very important thing. And as a young official, it's the furthest thing from your mind and hopefully should be. But
Yeah.
if you're an NASO member, then you don't have to worry about it. You just know you're covered.
And what is the membership fee for that? For now, I know with my association, we typically do a group rate, but what is the fee for that to cover for a newer official? Because I know I have some first time officials that are out there listening.
If somebody were to join straight as an individual member, it's $129. There are opportunities to get a reduced rate through various marketing efforts
Yep.
throughout the year. But the real key is what you just said, Mike. We're having tremendous success by having groups come in to get a lower rate. Our group membership packages, uh, they can start for a group as low as 20 to 25 members. So
Hmm.
it's not like all of them are in the thousands. We do have some organizations in the thousands that are coming in from a statewide association to another large entity at a governing body level. But it doesn't have to be that way. You could get your local officials association to decide to all do it, and you can get a pretty deeply discounted rate in that. Probably for a group of 25 ballpark. Don't let the marketing team hunt me down and kill me, but you're looking at probably $80 to $100 instead of the 129, depending on the size of the group.
So basically, in essence, and to break it down in simpler terms, a game fee or two is going to get you this gap protection and liability protection for the whole year, and it's also going to get you a subscription to an awesome magazine too. Correct?
That is correct. Yeah, Referee Magazine. When we do our surveys for our benefits, it's 1A and 1B. The insurance package is popular, the magazine is popular. In addition to that, you get the NASO newsletter called It's Official. You get all kinds of other things throughout the year, like the tax guide coming up. It's tax season to file your taxes. We got a free tax guide for all of our members.
Yep.
Plus, you get all the content on naso.org and referee.com. And then the advocacy part, you're supporting an organization that's supporting you. So when we're out doing these types of things or doing our national surveys and other things, you can rest assured that all of your money is going toward those efforts to continue to support the cause.
Yeah, and that's a great way of saying it, and it's a great resource for us officials to have, knowing that we got people that have our back out there. And like I said, Here in New Jersey, it's basically a little bit more than one varsity game for us. So I know different states, but if you're refereeing and you're just working the youth games, that could be heck, that could be two youth games in a weekend where you're working maybe four or five. So you're getting that protection for really, really a low rate, a low rate at your highest rate in what you're saying. So it's still a great deal out there. So
One other wonderful membership benefit I'll mention. The MICP program, Member Information and Consultation Program, is part of your dues. That allows any NASO member to call our office, communicate with our office through up to 3 times a year for any problem you might have. It could be a legal problem, an insurance problem. It could be something with the board of directors you're having. It could be disciplining
huh,
members if you're an association leader and you just want to get some more information on how to help solve your challenge. We have a staff here that will handle that. We'll get you back issues of articles in the magazine and other things, but we'll also connect you to an expert in the field for a free consultation if necessary. It's a wonderful benefit. It takes a lot of staff time to do that personal TLC, but you'll be amazed at how many times we get a call and say, hey, we've got a board of directors situation and the treasurer doesn't want to have an audit. What do we do? Or the secretary won't send out the minutes. What do we do? Or somebody's challenging our election and the president doesn't want to give up power. What do we do? Those
yeah,
types of things are things that we're dealing with all the time. It's also for individual officials, not just for associations. You might be having a challenge with contracts or your
okay.
taxes or things like that. And we've got guidance and we can support you with that. So it's really one-on-one, if you will, TLC for all of our members.
I didn't realize that last one, so that definitely even broadens it more. So that's fantastic. That's great to know.
Thanks, Mike.
So talking about incidents and stuff like that, are you seeing the number of incidents kind of are they increasing as of late? Are they going down? Are we staying kind of status quo in like the last 5, 10 years? I know on my end, and I'm going to be kind of contradicting myself because I am all over social media now trying to promote the podcast, but I know social media has sometimes had a negative effect on officiating. And we just finished one of the big playoff weekends. We got the national championship coming on tonight. So we're under the scrutiny, and not myself, but officials are under the scrutiny for all these different games. Um, so with social media, have you seen the number of incidents of people reporting stuff to you? Has it gone up or has it gone down?
We do the best we can to track this, but it's extremely difficult
Hmm.
because there's no one governing body organization that has a requirement for reporting, right? Because we all
Okay.
work for different entities. You might have to report it to your state high school office, but that doesn't necessarily go to the National Federation, for example. Or if it's your grade school, you might report it to your governing body of your grade school, your conference coordinator or whatever, but that doesn't necessarily matriculate anywhere else. So what we know is what's reported to us and what we track through media efforts to track online. And I would say things are not good, but also I would say not increasing. We get about 3 to 5 reports a week
Okay.
of an assault on a sports official, 3 to 5 per week. It's an unacceptable number by any measure. I wouldn't say it's necessarily increasing, but I wouldn't say it's decreasing either.
Okay.
When we get interviewed by the general media, they want a number. They want to say, okay, last year it was 68%, this year it's 78%. We can't track it that far because we only know what's reported to us. It's sort of like trying to track, horrible domestic violence, right? You only know
Yeah.
what you know. That doesn't mean it's not happening if it's not reported. So, what's interesting about assaults, Mike, and you'll appreciate this as an official yourself, sometimes our staff has to convince referees to report it or
Oh, I can.
umpires. They don't like dealing with it. They want it to go away. They just want to go on to the next game. Hey, sometimes they sort of justify it in a way. Hey, it was just a heat of the moment thing. They didn't really mean it. I've had this coach before. I know this player. I don't really don't want to get anybody in trouble. Just leave me alone. Let me go work my game. Well, sometimes we have to convince them that no, you need to take a step here because it's for the greater good. We can't have this
Yeah.
happening. We cannot have this happening to our industry. It's not only disrespectful, it absolutely kills efforts for recruiting and retention. And you got to step up here. Sometimes we're actually having to convince ourselves that we've been assaulted, believe it or not. So that's a key role that we're playing in some of that. So the numbers aren't good by a long shot. Sportsmanship numbers we know from our survey. We've done a national survey twice, 2017 and 2023, where
Okay.
we had tens of thousands of people respond to the survey from every corner of the United States in every sport. And we know that those numbers went in a wrong direction by about 10%. We're talking about, 58 or so, 60% saying sportsmanship is getting worse. And then in 2023, we're up near 70% saying sportsmanship is getting worse. So it went in the wrong direction. So we have that kind of data that shows sportsmanship is moving in the wrong direction. Now, I will say, Mike, there's been a concerted effort from governing bodies, state associations, and the National Federation, the NCAA, and others to really start to change the conversation on this. And that's been a very good thing. They know
Yeah.
the numbers are getting so bad that if we don't start supporting sports officials, we aren't going to play. And that's already happening, as you know, in certain pockets around the country. So there's been a lot of campaigns to improve sportsmanship from very important people in the sporting world. And that's well received and ideally making a difference. It's just not felt quite everywhere yet. But I think it's those efforts to change the narrative are commendable, and we support every single one of them.
And I know from experience and just being involved, I found it more difficult for working at the youth level than I do working at the high school level or even at the higher levels, just because you're getting a lot of people who might not know the game as well. So they're getting on the officials to a point that I personally have never had to deal with any type of physical altercation or anything like that. But have I been verbally assaulted? Probably, yeah. I would probably say yes. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably was on the other end of it as a coach back in the day too, when I used to sling different things at people and try to test them. But how has it been since COVID? Because I know we're kind of now on the uptick of positive things coming from COVID now, or not, or post COVID, I should say, not coming because of COVID. Um, but and the reason I'm asking this is I know that we've seen a big decrease in officials in different sports, and I know COVID was a huge issue with that. But I know that the pandemic also played a big part in the coaching side of it. And I think post pandemic, you had a lot of coaches that went down. And especially at the youth level, you had a lot of newbies coming into it who possibly didn't have the background of it, who were taking possibly some more liberties. So is there any correlation with that or anything that you know of?
Oh, most definitely. The youth level has always been the most challenging. If you think about it, just step back from it, right? You've got usually the most inexperienced coaches, the most inexperienced players, and the most inexperienced referees. And we put them all in the same area and expect it all to go well.
What could
It's
go
it's
wrong?
right, exactly. What could go wrong? It's a really tough environment. And as you know, all the survey data shows, Mike, you've been reading Referee Magazine, you know this. If we can get them into the third year, we got a good shot of keeping them. It's just
Yeah.
we're losing 70, 80% or more within those first 3 years. Well, that's partly why we're putting them in toxic environments. And it's especially true, our survey shows, at what we're calling roughly the youth competitive level. Club sports, travel ball, whatever you want to call it. That is an intense atmosphere without a lot of support
Yeah.
and without the backbone of large governing bodies that can take care of business with when everything goes awry. Um, there's some rogue things going on out there with tournaments where these travel teams will just come and go and there's nobody to answer to.
Yep.
Well, as a sports official, why are you going to put yourself in that environment? Even if something goes wrong, there's nobody there to support you in a lot of cases. So our survey indicates that's where the majority of the problem comes. And you're exactly right. The more structured and organized as we move toward, say, middle school and on into high school and beyond, there are still problems, but the problems are taken care of. There's a
Yeah.
mechanism in place for adults, ideally school personnel, to get involved and do what they got to do on the back end of a problem. So it doesn't always happen perfectly. We have some bad actors at those levels too sometimes, but there's the process and there's a structure there to support sports officials. We need more people doing it, but at least it's there. In some of those other environments, you're on your own, and that's a scary thing. The pandemic was interesting, Mike. The shortage in sports officials has been going on for more than 2 decades.
Okay.
People kind of forget about that because of the pandemic, but Referee Magazine actually published a cover story in 1998, believe it or not, and the cover
Oh, wow.
story said not enough refs. We were already starting to see some decline. Now, in those days, the big sports, in quotes, were immune. You
Hmm.
never in your wildest dreams imagined that we wouldn't have enough basketball referees or football referees, but now we're facing that. So what the pandemic did was it just sort of accelerated everything and pushed it over a cliff. We were moving in a not good direction for a really long time, but we were able to absorb it for a really long time because we kept leaning on those sports officials to take a few more games or to add another sport. And a lot of people did step up and do that. So the games were being played, even though we might be getting a little bit stretched thin and maybe burned out a little bit. Well, then the pandemic comes, and by all estimates, between 25 and 30% of sports officials did not come back. Every state's a little bit different, but if you look
Yep.
at the total amalgamation of it all, we're estimating roughly around 30% did not come back. Well, that's somebody that got out of their routine. They've been doing it for 30 years. They're in their late 50s, maybe early 60s, and they got out of their routine of doing it and just decided it's not worth it. I don't want to do it. I'd rather go walk on the beach or do whatever with their spouses. And they got out of it and they weren't going to come back. Part of it, of course, was health related and other tragic things that happened through COVID. But the reality is that older group, in quotes, did not come back. There's a double edged sword to it. We also didn't get new people in because games weren't being played.
Yep.
I went through it with my own daughter. My own daughter was in college and was starting to dabble in volleyball refereeing, and she was a volleyball player. And just going to start doing some intramurals and some grade school stuff, putting a few bucks in her pocket like a lot of college kids do. COVID hits, no intramurals, no grade school games for 2 years. By the time it got back, she's now in her major and doesn't really have time. And but we missed an opportunity there. I think there were lots of kids like that may
I'm
have been
sure.
interested in sports officiating or coaching or whatever, and they didn't have any opportunity, and now it's tough to get them back engaged. So it was on both ends of it, Mike. It really was on both ends of it. So we have worked really hard with a lot of these governing bodies that I mentioned, the NFHS, NCAA, and others, to get the word out through the Say Yes to Officiating program that NASO has and other efforts by those entities to get the word out and get sports officials get back into it. We're working with ref reps, of course. They've done a great job getting curriculum, cutting edge curriculum into schools to get these people started. And that's wonderful. I don't think we're feeling the true effects of that yet. I
Okay.
think it's coming. We're on the way. We're on the brink of some good things happening.
Yeah.
Numbers are up in a lot of state associations, but those numbers might be reflective of teenage kids or others who are in their very first year, obviously, that we may not be feeling the effects yet on that varsity level or where we really need them for a lot of games. They're just getting started. The risk, of course, is pushing them too fast. If we push them too fast and they're not ready, we're going to lose them anyway. So we need them. It's really tough. We want to fast track them. We want to get them ready fast. And there is some real good growth coming because of these efforts, but it can't stop because now the next half of it, Mike, is the retention part. We got to
Yeah.
keep them.
And that's where I kind of been preaching with the podcast about mentorship and keeping the people that we are getting involved into it, because we went through it here in just my local chapter of, we had, even this past season, we had a first year official. Literally, it was his first time stepping onto the varsity field in a big game as a fill-in official, and we're like, okay, we gotta work with this guy. We gotta help this guy understand out. But it was his first time being in a varsity game as a first year official. Now, prior to COVID, we always had different not priorities, but different steps of, okay, your first year, you can work the sub varsity level, work the chains on the varsity level so that you're observing a lot more. But now, because we did see a decrease due to the pandemic, we have first year officials getting right into the middle of it. And now it's our job as the seasoned officials to work with this person, talk to them at halftime. Don't just put them aside, because this We had one particular spot this year. It was his first time on the field. We were missing our white hat wasn't there, and we were missing another one of our crew because here in New Jersey we have set crews, so we work with it. But I've seen people kind of like, oh, you're not part of our crew, and kind of shun them away and make them a little bit uncomfortable. Or no, we need to open the arms and embrace these people and thank them for getting involved with us. And okay, what can we do to help you? What questions do you have? How can we open up the just a conversation for you to get better? So I think
Yep.
that's going to help out a lot.
The goal, Mike, is to get those numbers back to the point where we're not putting kids in those situations or new officials in those situations, because that's an untenable position. We're in the same boat here in Wisconsin. We're crew based basically, but I'm old enough to remember what we call commissioners, assigners, telling us that you had to work 5 years of JV before you'd even get a sniff at a varsity
Yep.
game. Now we're throwing them in there in their very first game. It's
Yep.
not good for anybody. You know why it's not good for anybody? Because the expectation hasn't changed.
No.
You
No,
know,
it's actually, I think the
participants.
expectation has gone up.
Correct. So what are we expecting of these poor people? Talk about getting thrown in, but we have to support them every step of the way, not only through the local officials associations with their training, but it's also the one-on-one support that you're describing, that checking in with them, weekly or at least periodically. How are you doing? What are you thinking? They're swimming right now. Their heads are spinning.
Yeah.
They know they're in a varsity game, and they know they're in over their heads if they're being real. So we got to carefully guide them through that. I think one challenge is there's many administrators who are looking at the possibility of reducing the number of required officials because of all this.
Ugh.
That's challenging. So, if you're required to have, say, 5 on a football game, maybe we should allow only 4 because we don't have enough people. Or 3-person basketball. Let's go back to the old days and go to 2-person. Well, you can't blame them for at least talking about it because the numbers are that. And do we really want somebody in their very first game on a varsity level? But the flip of that is now you're going to be having less opportunity for growth. So how do you balance that issue? How do we get to the point where the participants cut us maybe just a little more slack, knowing that we're taking somebody on and doing as much training and
Yep.
teaching as we are officiating that night? It's a tough thing to ask for coaches who put a lot into it and the players who put a lot into it, to know that they're out there being watched, if you will, by somebody who's literally brand new. We'd much rather have that happening at the freshman level, at the JV level, so we can be in a more of a training environment. But the practical reality is it's happening in every sport, and it's happening all around the country.
And it's crazy that you're bringing that up too, because here in New Jersey, we're typically a 6-person football crew, 3 people for basketball, pretty standard. But I know football wise, we're kind of a little bit ahead of the game. We're a six-man crew, and then come the playoffs and stuff, we're going to be a 7-person crew. But now, if you're talking about different states, and I know New Jersey has talked about it too, of reducing those numbers on the field because of the finances, because of the lack of bodies, well, now you're also decreasing our vision and our ability to referee a clean game. And now there possibly is going to be more incidents or possibly more missed calls, and now more issues going to the assaults and to the different things like that, because now you're reducing our numbers, you're making our vision have to get even broader on the game field, and it just makes the game even tougher. So it would kind of be counterproductive in order for them to be productive in what they're thinking.
Yeah, there's a liability aspect to this too. I mean, less eyeballs out there means more chance for problems, means attorneys licking their chops.
Yep.
So it's got to be considered. It's really no different than in the law enforcement, right? You take more cops off the street, and guess what? There might be more problems. So
Yeah.
even if we're not out there, somebody said this to me in a meeting one time. Well, we've got some data that shows the extra official doesn't really throw any flags or do much. Well, how about the presence of the official preventing things from happening, right? We're there. The talk tos, the gentle warnings, just having a physical presence with a striped shirt, being in the vicinity, that can deter a lot of things from happening. We don't necessarily have to chart that we're all throwing 12 flags a game to justify our paycheck. Nobody
Yeah.
wants that anyway.
No, no, not at all. And I mean, heck, my white hat always jokes around that flags mess up the game. They don't make the game any better. So call what we have to call, and then let's let the kids play. But the
I, I,
preventative officiating is huge.
I could work with your white hat.
Yeah. So yeah, we have some fun with them too, but it's definitely something like we're not a big flag crew. We're calling point of the attack, we're calling the safety fouls, but we're talking a whole lot. Like if I don't have, I'm an umpire myself, and if I walk out of the game and I still have a full voice, I probably didn't have a great game.
Yes,
So
I mean we're of like minded. To me, the best thing about officiating is when you get to the point where, and this is a hard thing to teach. It really is. It takes a lot of one-on-one mentoring, but we always want to start our games the way you just described. Let's just stay out of the way, let the kids play, let them figure it out. If they've come to play and are playing a clean game, we don't need to muck this up by getting in the way. But when the game needs us, we better step up.
yeah,
We better step up. We got to start having the wherewithal to do what it takes to get this back on track. Now, here's the key, Mike. The hardest thing to teach, well, when do you back off again? Right? Now we've got it back on the rails, but now we don't want to over officiate it just because the
yep,
game needed us for these last 5-10 minutes. Now we got to slowly ease off the reins a little bit, let the kids adjust, let the coaches adjust, and see if they can get it back on track themselves. To me, when I'm watching crews or I'm watching TV, that's what you're looking for. They know the times. The real excellent officials know when they're needed and know when to back off. That's a hard thing. It's a very hard thing to learn, but once you got it and once you see it, it's a beautiful thing. That's where it's more art than science. We have a lot of science in our business,
yeah.
especially with replay and charting of everything we do, from the way we zip up to the time we throw our flags. But the reality is, still a lot of art to this, and to me, that is the best part about officiating. When a crew knows when to inject themselves and also when to back out, let the game be the game again. That's gold.
Absolutely. And one thing my white hat takes pride in is he has three of us that are on his crew that are in education. So dealing with kids, that's what I do on a daily basis. I'm in a high school. I'm a phys ed and health teacher, so I'm dealing with the high school students every day. So I know how to communicate with them for the most part. I still can't tell you all their lingo. I'm still trying to figure out some of the stuff my 13-year-old son's saying to me. I'm like, what did that mean? But it's something that it took some time for us to learn on how to deal with that. And same thing now being on the field, because you do have some hot-headed kids and sometimes the emotion of the game kind of takes over, but doing what you have to do. And then, like you said, pulling back, it's a fantastic trait to learn. And it's the same thing that I've learned in education. Sometimes you got to get on a kid, but okay, then let's back off and let's talk to them. There's been times where I've thrown a flag on a kid that I've had great conversations with earlier in the game, and now all of a sudden I've got an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on him. But I'm going to find him 2 or 3 plays later, and I'm going to say, "Listen, do you understand why I had to throw that flag?" And 99% of the time, the kid's like, "Yeah, I know, I screwed up on that one." But you give them the time to kind of let it go, and now we're moving back and playing football again. So it's kind of it's a win-win in that situation, I think.
That's why, Mike, to bring this all back around this conversation, that's why when we're recruiting and retaining sports officials, we have to talk more about the life skills you learn. Everything that we just talked about is a skill you could apply to your household, to your
Yeah.
job, with your friends, or any other environment that you're in. These are skills that you can apply anywhere. Think about all the things that we have to do as sports officials. We have to be punctual. We have to take care of our administrative duties. We have to take care of our paperwork. We have to communicate effectively. We have to make tough decisions in tough environments. We have to communicate within our team. We have to communicate externally with others who aren't going to like what we have to say. All those things, reading the room, which is what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
How do you judge people? How do you deal with people who have different personalities? You can't talk to every coach the same way. You have to get the wisdom to figure that out. Well, that is what we can learn through sports officiating that can help you be better at everything you do. Everything
Yep.
you do. There aren't very many opportunities like that, if you think about it, as an avocation to get out there, get an athletic endeavor, have fun with your crew, and also learn life skills that can make you better at everything you do. That's what we have to sell. That's what this is about, in my opinion. There is no way I'd be the husband I am, the father that I am, the coworker that I am, and everything in between without sports officiating.
And that's the greatest benefit about sports in general is learning all those different life skills, like you're talking about. Both my kids are highly involved in multiple sports, be it middle school, high school, the travel at world that we were just talking about. So they're learning all of these different skills on how to balance it with their social life, with their schooling, and different things like that. And that's something that a lot of other aspects of life don't get. Some kids who aren't involved in sports, well, it can tend to go awry in different ways. Not that everybody that's involved in sports can't go awry either, but
Right.
there's a it's been proven that you're building yourself a better discipline for all those aspects of life. So now when you incorporate that into the workforce of being a good teammate, and in our world, still being a good teammate, and that's the one thing that a lot of people truly don't understand is we are the third team on the field. And I repeat this over and over, and for my longtime listeners, they've heard me say it, we are the third team, and it's just a practice if we're not out there. So we are the third team. We have to work together. It's a life skill, just like you're saying. It's something that just makes us better people.
Absolutely. That's what you don't realize it when you're starting, right? When we're starting, it's probably to put a few bucks in your pocket. There's nothing wrong with that. We
No.
need to, that's what I started in college, put a few bucks in your pocket. You don't think about all these things until you start to really get into it. And then you realize, wow, this is not only a fun thing to do, it's very challenging. In my mind, it's not for everybody. That's what makes this unique, and special in a lot of ways. I think a lot of people, I can tell you from my own circle of friends and people in my life, I know which ones would make a good sports official and which ones wouldn't. They're still my
Yeah.
friends, they're still my family members, but they don't have what it takes. It is
Yep.
something special, and it needs to be celebrated.
That's awesome. I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, now that you're saying that, there are definitely some people that I'm like, nah, you wouldn't do well with the stripes on, or even being on the sidelines either. So yeah, it's definitely a unique world that we are in.
Yes, it is. Nobody understands us but us, that's for sure.
Yeah, true, true. So a quick transition. Referee magazine. What do you do with the magazine? We've been talking a lot NASO, but now just a short tidbit about the referee magazine. Tell us about that.
Sure. So the magazine started in 1976 by Barry Mano. It actually started before NASO. NASO started in 1980, but the magazine has been going strong. We're heading toward our 50th year of publication next year.
Woo, nice.
We're very proud to say there are very, very few publications left in this world that have had their 50th birthday. There's a lot of very famous publications that didn't make their 50th birthday. So we're excited about that. We're already getting plans together to celebrate that. It is really designed to challenge, educate, and inspire sports officials. So we've got content in there. From day one, it's been this way. We've got feature stories that celebrate people and tell them about their personal lives and everything we can learn from that. We've also got all kinds of things on rules and mechanics and philosophy to make you actually better at the X's and O's. We've got inspiring stories. We've got news. We're the journal of record of sports officiating. We like to look back at our history. Who better has the history of sports officiating than Referee Magazine? If you want to know what happened 40 some years ago, Referee Magazine is the journal of record that would have that information. So we take that very seriously, because we've got to capture our history, to celebrate our history, to understand and learn from our history. And Referee Magazine provides that opportunity. I was fortunate. I grew up on the journalism side and I started on the
Okay.
magazine side. So that was my personal background. I always knew I was going to be a sports writer. I had no idea it would be for Referee Magazine. I started sports officiating, and those two things just aligned in my life, and I've been grateful for it. So, right now, as executive editor, still overseeing the team through our editor, Brent Kalaki, and our editorial team. There's 9 people here on staff that officiate that all contribute to that magazine. There's 24 people on staff total that all contribute to the magazine in various ways. But we've written literally tens of thousands of articles to help sports officials get better at what they do and report on what's going on in our industry. Of course, that's led to what the website and other things now in the digital age. You can get the
Yep.
magazine digitally. We of course have digital newsletters and all kinds of things to meet the needs of today's digital world and reach those young kids. But there's still a vast majority of our membership that gets the magazine. They still like the physical print edition. There's just something about people are so sick of reading on their iPads and on their phones that even my kids who are in their 20s, I see them picking up an actual physical book or an actual
Yep.
physical magazine once in a while, and it kind of warms my heart as an old editor, if you will, that's kind of in vogue again because I think they're so sick of looking at their screens that it's nice to get something physically in their hands.
It's
So
got to
we
be
do
relaxing
both.
on the eyes.
Yeah, we do both. I mean, to meet all of our needs, but I still like the old print edition.
And for those of you that are just listening out there and aren't watching, I shared the screen with referee.com, which is the website for the magazine. And look what we got right here, right on the cover there. And Bill had a little chuckle when he saw his picture pop up there. But you could see all the different resources that are on this site. The rules challenge, which I love, all the different articles. And I was just scrolling down, and you could see all the different sports. And there's a football one. And let me go back up. I saw. There it is, pickleball. So, like you were
Yes.
mentioning before, so the pickleball rage and stuff like that. So it's all right there for you. And now let me see if it'll allow me. Oh, nope. There we go. So I got the
And,
naso.org is the
yep,
website for the
naso.org. Yes, that's correct.
and referee.com. So those are our two websites, and I'm going to put both of those in the show notes. So for anybody that wants to check those out, I highly, highly implore that you go and take a look at both of those websites, and I highly recommend that you get yourself involved. Um, Bill, we're coming up to the 45-minute mark, or a little bit further than the 45-minute mark, so I don't want to hold you up much longer. Um, just the last question that I kind of throw out to everybody: how can we keep growing this? How can we keep getting the numbers up there? And what more can we do? And what more can I do to possibly help out?
Well, I appreciate that, Mike. First of all, things like this are tremendous because it's getting awareness. I what we know from data, it shows that the vast majority of sports officials start because of a personal relationship with someone that asks them to try it.
Okay.
Yes, the campaigns are important. The advertisements, the social media, our Say Yes to Officiating website is really important. It's got a lot of resources for you to download and use when you're recruiting and retaining, all for free, by the way, just like the two sites you just showed. But those are support materials, if you will. The vast majority of us started because somebody might have suggested it or at least helped you point you
Yeah.
in the right direction. So we need to be aware of our relationships with people. We were just talking about it. But if you have somebody in your circle that you've thought, hey, you know what? I like the way that person carries himself or herself. They like sports. Maybe there's a chance here. So you talk to them about it. And immediately, most of them are going to say, oh my God, I would never be able to do that. What you guys put up with, there's no chance.
Yeah, I was one
But
of
you
them.
work on them a little bit. You keep talking about it. You keep talking about the experiences and the giving it a shot. And some people appeal for different reasons. They appeal to the giving back to the sports,
Hmm.
especially if one part, Mike, that's fertile ground that we sort of underutilized. When we talk about recruiting, a lot of people think about young kids, and that's important. But what about those 45, 50, 55-year-old people who've been chasing their kids around the last 20, 30 years? The kids are done playing now, and they've got a void to fill.
Yeah.
They've been involved in sports their whole lives. Either they played themselves, coached themselves, whatever, play rec ball, whatever it is. Their kids have played, their kids are done, and they're looking around going, well, I'd like to do something. I just don't know what to do. Maybe they don't have the time commitment to coach,
Yeah.
but they can put some effort into officiating, and they haven't even had the thought. We need to put the thought in their heads that they can still be involved in sports and manage their own schedule, do as much or as little as you like, and get back. And there is definitely fertile ground in that category as well. Plus, they're more mature, they've been around longer, they're probably a little more coachable, and we might only keep them for 10 or 15 years, but that's going to
Still,
be valuable 10 or 15 years.
absolutely. Well, Bill, once again, I truly appreciate you taking the time today on this nice warm day that we have.
Yes.
um, Again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out those sites, referee.com and naso.org. Once again, Bill Topp, President, NASO. and executive editor with the Referee magazine. Truly, truly appreciate you taking your time out today. This has been wonderful. Like I said, if there's anything else that I can do to help out and help grow our sports, please feel free to reach out. And anything else you want to leave the listeners with?
I just want to say thanks, Mike. I really appreciate the opportunity, and good luck to you, and good luck with the podcast, and keep up the good fight.
All right. I appreciate that, Bill. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.
Take care. You too.